Once upon a time, in a bustling city where high-rise buildings met quiet parks, there lived a girl named Emily. She was bright, kind-hearted, and always had a soft smile that could light up the darkest days. Emily worked long hours as a waitress to help support her mother and two younger siblings. They lived in a small, cozy apartment, and though they didn't have much, they shared a bond filled with love and laughter. Across town, in a mansion surrounded by manicured gardens, lived John. He was the son of a wealthy businessman, the kind of man who had always been handed everything on a silver platter. John had never worried about money, but there was something missing in his life, something he couldn't put into words. Despite his privileged background, he often found himself lonely, trapped within the expectations of his family's high society world. One sunny afternoon, Emily was rushing to make her next shift at the cafe. She wasn't paying attention and accidentally collided with John, who was visiting the cafe for a business meeting. The two locked eyes, and for a moment, it was as if the world had fallen away. She apologized quickly, but John, captivated, was curious to know more about her. After that encounter, John began frequenting the cafe, hoping to run into Emily. He was drawn to her warmth, her humility, and the way she interacted with everyone, regardless of their status. To him, Emily's kindness and resilience were like a breath of fresh air. As they spent more time together, Emily and John found they had much in common. They both longed for something beyond the lives they were living. Emily dreamed of a world where she didn't have to struggle, and John dreamed of a world where he wasn't tied down by his family's expectations. But as their bond grew, so did the challenges. John's family disapproved of Emily, considering her background unsuitable. They tried everything to separate them, from bribing Emily to threatening to disown John. Heartbroken, Emily nearly walked away, not wanting to come between John and his family. But John was determined to fight for her. He realized that a life without Emily was a life half-lived. He left his family's mansion, and for the first time, he found work for himself, moving into a modest apartment not far from Emily's. Together, they faced hardships and celebrated small victories. With time, John's family saw his determination and came to understand that happiness meant more than wealth. Emily's grace and strength had changed John, helping him become a man who was truly fulfilled. Eventually, his family accepted Emily, realizing that she was the missing piece in John's life. Emily and John, despite their different worlds, built a life filled with love, dreams, and laughter, proving that love transcends status and wealth. And so, they lived happily, knowing they had found in each other what no amount of money could buy: a genuine, unbreakable bond. After John moved into his modest apartment near Emily, their lives became a beautiful, if challenging, blend of hard work and shared dreams. Without the comforts and privileges he was used to, John had to adapt quickly. He took a job as a junior analyst at a small firm, working long hours and earning just enough to get by. Emily taught him how to live on a budget, how to find joy in little things like homemade meals, and how to appreciate moments of simplicity. Every Friday night, they'd have what they called their escape evenings. With a few dollars saved up, they'd explore different parts of the city, wandering through hidden neighborhoods, stumbling upon street musicians, and watching sunsets from the rooftops of old buildings. They shared their dreams on these nights. Emily talked about going back to school to study social work, hoping to help families like hers. John confessed his desire to start his own business one day, one that would be built on integrity, not just profits. As seasons changed, they faced setbacks. Sometimes, John's job was uncertain due to the economy, and Emily's cafe struggled, often leaving her short on hours. But they supported each other tirelessly, finding ways to make ends meet. John's family tried once more to intervene, worried he was throwing his life away. They offered him a job back at his father's firm if he'd only leave Emily and return home. In the face of this pressure, Emily became anxious. She worried that she was holding him back from a life of comfort and stability. One night, with tears in her eyes, she told John that he deserved someone who could match his background, someone who wouldn't keep him from his family's acceptance. But John looked at her, eyes fierce with determination, and took her hand. "Emily, you're the reason I'm finally living my own life. For the first time, I'm the person I want to be. And that's because of you." Together, they decided they'd work harder to achieve their dreams. Emily began taking night classes, studying social work by day and working at the cafe in the evening. John saved every penny, slowly building a small business of his own on the side, using his skills to help local artisans and small businesses grow their brands. He often stayed up late, Emily by his side, both of them working towards their futures with unwavering focus. Over time, John's family began to notice the transformation in him. He had become happier, more driven, and passionate. His father eventually came to see his son's work and realized that John was no longer a boy seeking his father's approval. He was a man who had built something real from nothing, with Emily at his side. Slowly, grudgingly, John's father and mother reached out, wanting to meet the woman who had inspired such change in their son. The reunion was tentative at first, with Emily feeling nervous and unsure, but she and John's family eventually found common ground. They came to respect her strength, warmth, and how she'd made John a better person. Bit by bit, acceptance grew, and the distance that had once divided them softened. In time, John's business thrived, and Emily graduated with honors, starting her career as a social worker, helping underprivileged families in their community. With every step, they honored the journey they'd taken together, never forgetting the simple life they'd shared, the sacrifices they'd made, and the dreams they'd chased. Their love story became one woven with resilience, loyalty, and growth, proving that true love is not just a fairy tale. It's the journey of two people, imperfect and from different worlds, finding completeness in each other's hearts. They went on to build a life filled with love, family, and dreams, proving to themselves and everyone else that love doesn't just bridge worlds. It creates new ones. As Emily and John settled into their lives, they continued building their love story, weaving in new dreams and adventures. With John's business flourishing and Emily's work as a social worker making a genuine difference, they decided to give back to the community that had shaped their journey. They started a small foundation together, dedicated to providing scholarships for underprivileged youth and supporting local family-run businesses. Emily's compassion drove her to work closely with families, many of whom reminded her of her own. She saw her story in the eyes of struggling single mothers and bright children who just needed a chance. Her work was tiring and often heartbreaking, but with every family she helped, she felt that her own hardships had been worth it. She would come home to John, sharing stories that left them both inspired, each day strengthening her resolve to make a difference. John, on the other hand, used his connections to help those often overlooked by bigger corporations. He established programs to provide small business grants and mentorship for local entrepreneurs. His initiative didn't go unnoticed. Slowly, his name started appearing in local newspapers and business magazines, praised for his work with the community. His family, once skeptical, began to feel proud, seeing that John had not only succeeded on his own terms but had done so in a way that enriched others' lives. In one quiet evening, John proposed to Emily on the rooftop of their favorite building, the same one where they'd spent many of their escape evenings in the early days. He had transformed the rooftop with fairy lights and delicate flowers, and as the city twinkled beneath them, he knelt down, looking at her with all the love and gratitude in the world. "Emily, you've taught me what life is truly about. You are my partner, my dream, and my home. Will you spend the rest of your life with me?" With happy tears and a nod, Emily said yes, and the two embraced, wrapped in the memories of their journey. Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, held in a beautiful garden, with only close family and friends present. John's family was there, finally embracing Emily with open arms, and Emily's family looked on proudly, knowing she had found someone who cherished her for all the right reasons. As the years passed, they continued to grow their foundation, helping hundreds of people. They eventually moved into a beautiful home they had built together, a blend of comfort and simplicity, filled with personal touches that reflected their unique journey. They never lost the appreciation for small things. Even as life brought them more success, they still took escape evenings, exploring new places, savoring street food, or just sitting together, watching the stars and reminiscing about the days when all they had was a dream in each other. Emily and John's love story became legendary in their community, symbolizing that true love is found not in riches, but in the way two hearts grow together, lifting each other up in the face of any challenge. And so, surrounded by the life they had built from scratch, Emily and John lived out their days, still just as enchanted with each other as they were on that first day in the cafe. They proved to everyone around them that the most beautiful love stories aren't about where you come from but about the strength you find in each other as you build a life together, one dream at a time. Years passed, and Emily and John became not only a beloved couple in their community but also respected leaders, mentors, and symbols of hope for many. They spent countless hours building and expanding their foundation, which had grown far beyond their wildest dreams. They were now providing mentorship programs, job training, and scholarships, as well as setting up affordable housing initiatives to help struggling families. The foundation's reach extended beyond their city, touching lives in neighboring towns and inspiring similar programs across the region. Through it all, Emily and John remained grounded. Despite their success, they kept their lives humble, valuing purpose and gratitude over luxury. They were both deeply committed to their causes, but they also knew the importance of staying connected to each other. They maintained a tradition they called Sacred Sundays, a day they reserved just for each other. No work calls, no meetings, no distractions. They would spend the day exploring new cafes, going on spontaneous road trips, or sometimes just lounging at home with a favorite movie and a home-cooked meal. One of their greatest joys came when they decided to start a family. The couple adopted two siblings, a young boy named Leo and his baby sister Ava, who had been in the foster system. Emily and John knew that this was their chance to give the love and stability they'd both longed for in their own ways, offering a life filled with warmth, laughter, and opportunity. They embraced parenthood wholeheartedly, guiding Leo and Ava with patience and love, teaching them the values they held dear: compassion, resilience, and the importance of dreaming big. Raising Leo and Ava brought a new layer of purpose to Emily and John's lives. The family grew together, supporting each other in countless ways. Leo, who had always been shy and uncertain, began to blossom under his parents' encouragement, showing a talent for art. With his parents' encouragement, he began painting, his work becoming a beautiful reflection of his emotions and the experiences he had gone through. Meanwhile, little Ava had a spirited personality, always eager to follow her mother on her community visits, sometimes bringing small drawings she made for the families they helped. She had a heart for helping others, just like her parents. As the years rolled on, Emily and John's foundation continued to expand. Their work was recognized in national magazines, and they were invited to speak at conferences, sharing the story of their journey from humble beginnings to becoming champions for social change. Yet they never lost sight of their roots. They stayed in their same home, welcoming neighbors and friends with open doors and open hearts, always giving back to the community that had supported them. When Leo grew older, he decided to use his artistic talents to contribute to the foundation, creating powerful artwork that reflected the struggles and triumphs of the people they served. Ava, inspired by her parents, studied to become a social worker, eventually joining her mother's cause to help families in need. Emily and John watched their children grow with pride, knowing that the legacy they had started would continue through Leo and Ava. In their later years, Emily and John found themselves spending more time traveling to remote areas, where their foundation's impact was often most needed. They would come back home with stories and memories, always excited to see how their efforts had grown far beyond what they'd initially imagined. Their love deepened even further, becoming a quiet, unbreakable bond that spoke volumes without words. Eventually they retired, passing the foundation into the capable hands of Leo, Ava, and the dedicated team they had built over the years. On their last day working together, the community held a celebration in their honor. Hundreds of people came. Families they had helped, former scholarship recipients, small business owners they had supported, and even John's family, who had long ago come to respect and love Emily deeply. With joyful tears and gratitude, Emily and John thanked everyone for allowing them to be part of their lives. Standing together on stage, hand in hand, they shared one final message. "We may have started with just a dream in each other, but the love and support you all gave us made this journey what it is." Our hope is that every person here finds their own dreams and builds a legacy that makes a difference. In their final years, Emily and John spent their days together, watching their children carry forward the mission they'd started, knowing that the life they built had changed the lives of thousands. In each other, they had found a love that transcended wealth, status, and even time. A love that inspired not only a family but an entire community, leaving a legacy that would continue for generations to come. And as they sat together, watching the sun set over the city they devoted their lives to, they knew they had lived a life truly worth celebrating. As Emily and John entered the golden years of their lives, their story continued to blossom in ways they hadn't anticipated. Though they had formally retired, the legacy they had created only grew, with the foundation gaining new partnerships and expanding into areas they'd once only dreamed of. Leo and Ava, now accomplished and compassionate adults, poured their own hearts into their work, each infusing the foundation with fresh ideas and vision. One spring, the foundation's team approached Emily and John with an idea. They wanted to build a community center in their honor. It would serve as a safe haven for underprivileged children and struggling families, a place where people could find education, resources, and community support. Touched and humbled, Emily and John accepted, and the center was named the Heart of Hope Community Center. As construction began, Emily and John visited the site regularly, watching with joy as the building took shape. Local families, business owners, and volunteers came together to contribute, some painting murals on the walls, others planting a garden out front. The center became a true community effort, a testament to how Emily and John's love had inspired generations of people to care for one another. The Heart of Hope Community Center was finally inaugurated on a sunny autumn day, with families from all around gathered to celebrate. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt speeches. Both Emily and John were given honorary plaques, and as they stood before the crowd, John squeezed Emily's hand and spoke with emotion. "This place is not just a building. It's a symbol of what can happen when we come together with open hearts," he said. "It's a reminder that love is the most powerful legacy of all." For the next few years, Emily and John became regular faces at the center, often joining activities with the children, guiding new social workers, and supporting young entrepreneurs through mentorship programs. They'd host art nights with Leo, who encouraged the kids to express themselves through painting and drawing. Ava organized family nights, where parents could gather, share stories, and learn from one another. Emily and John found immense fulfillment in these days, watching the center breathe life into their community in ways they hadn't even imagined. One day, Leo came to them with a heartfelt request. Inspired by his parents' dedication and the impact of their work, he wanted to create a documentary that would tell the story of Emily and John's journey. With their blessing, he began filming, capturing moments from their early days of struggle, the challenges they'd faced together, and the transformative power of their love. He interviewed people from their past, former cafe co-workers of Emily's, John's old colleagues, families they'd helped, and even members of John's family. The documentary, titled A Legacy of Love, premiered a year later and was met with overwhelming appreciation. It showcased not only their love story but also the community's resilience and the difference one couple could make. The film inspired audiences nationwide, encouraging people to pursue lives filled with compassion, purpose, and kindness. In the final scenes of the documentary, Emily and John were shown sitting on their favorite rooftop, reminiscing about their journey. Their faces were lined with age, but their eyes sparkled with the same love they'd shared for decades. Emily, looking out over the city they had come to love so deeply, reflected, "The life we built wasn't because of luck or wealth. It was because of the love we poured into it. And that love, it's the greatest gift we could give." The documentary left a lasting impact, attracting donations, volunteers, and partnerships to the Heart of Hope Community Center, ensuring that its doors would stay open to anyone in need for years to come. Inspired by Emily and John's story, other communities across the country began creating their own versions of the center, spreading their legacy far beyond what they'd ever imagined. In their final years, Emily and John found themselves surrounded by family and friends, filled with the knowledge that their love had become something bigger than either of them. Their lives were a true testament to what two people could accomplish with determination, kindness, and an unshakable bond. Emily and John lived out their days quietly, still enjoying escape evenings and simple moments together. And one day, surrounded by their family, they quietly passed within days of each other, leaving a world forever changed by their story. Their love had not only bridged worlds but had inspired thousands, and their legacy, rooted in kindness, resilience, and the transformative power of love, continued to live on, passed down from generation to generation. The Heart of Hope Center remained a beacon of compassion, a testament to two hearts that had, indeed, changed the world. After Emily and John passed, their legacy blossomed in even more profound ways. The Heart of Hope Community Center became a pilgrimage of sorts for people across the nation who had been inspired by their story. Families and individuals traveled from all over, drawn by the love and spirit of service that Emily and John had embodied. Many visitors left inspired to begin their own community initiatives, and stories of new centers and support networks started popping up, all tracing their roots back to Emily and John's legacy. Leo and Ava, now leaders of the foundation, continued their parents' mission with tireless dedication. They expanded the Heart of Hope to other cities, creating a network of centers that served as safe havens and resource hubs. The network focused not only on immediate relief like food and shelter, but also on long-term empowerment, such as financial literacy, small business workshops, and mental health support. They partnered with schools, hospitals, and local businesses, forming a vast web of support that helped thousands find stability and hope. Leo channeled his artistic talents into these new centers, painting vibrant murals in each location to tell the story of his parents' journey, blending images of hardship, resilience, and love. He often depicted a small cafe at the center of each mural, symbolizing the humble beginnings of his parents' story. Ava, passionate and charismatic, brought her social work expertise to every new project, making sure the center stayed true to the values her parents had instilled: compassion, respect, and a relentless dedication to uplifting those in need. One summer, Leo and Ava held the first annual Legacy of Love Conference, a gathering for community leaders, social workers, educators, and volunteers inspired by Emily and John's work. The conference was filled with workshops, seminars, and discussions aimed at empowering people to create change in their own communities. Attendees shared stories, learned from each other's challenges, and left with renewed purpose. The event grew every year, eventually attracting thousands of people from around the world, all united by a shared mission of service. A few years later, the city where Emily and John had lived proposed a statue in their honor. It was placed in a peaceful park near the cafe where they'd first met. The statue showed them standing hand in hand, looking forward with gentle smiles, symbols of hope and resilience. Below the statue, a plaque read, "Love is the greatest legacy." Children who visited the park would often ask their parents who Emily and John were, and parents would tell them stories of the couple who had given everything to help others. Schools began organizing field trips to the Heart of Hope centers, where kids learned not only about community service but also about the values that Emily and John had cherished: kindness, generosity, and integrity. As the foundation continued to grow, Leo and Ava also started writing a book together, The Journey of Heart and Hope, capturing the intimate details of their parents' lives, their love story, and their work. They filled the pages with personal anecdotes, letters between Emily and John, and stories of the many lives they had touched. The book became a bestseller, inspiring readers worldwide to look within their own communities and find ways to serve. It was even translated into multiple languages, spreading Emily and John's legacy far and wide. Years passed, and Emily and John's great-grandchildren grew up hearing stories of their legendary ancestors, learning from a young age the importance of empathy, service, and courage. They, too, would visit the Heart of Hope centers, volunteering alongside their family and learning firsthand what it meant to live with purpose. As generations came and went, Emily and John's legacy became woven into the fabric of countless communities, transcending time and distance. The Heart of Hope Foundation continued its work, expanding into schools, universities, and neighborhoods that needed it most. Each new center bore the unmistakable mark of their love and vision, a mural of two hands joined together, a symbol of unity and support. In the end, Emily and John's legacy proved that a love story could change the world, one act of kindness at a time. They had built something eternal, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and hope. Their lives, their love, and their mission had transcended their own lifetimes, leaving a world brighter, kinder, and forever touched by two ordinary people who had chosen to live an extraordinary life together. And even as time marched on, their story continued to inspire, reminding people everywhere that no matter where they came from, they too could create a legacy of love. In the decades following Emily and John's passing, the Heart of Hope Foundation became a global movement, transforming from a local initiative into an international beacon of support and empowerment. Cities across continents saw Heart of Hope centers emerge, each one inspired by the original mission: to bridge divides, uplift communities, and remind people that love and kindness are the most enduring forms of wealth. Leo and Ava dedicated their lives to expanding their parents' legacy, and when it came time, they passed the torch to the next generation, Emily and John's great-grandchildren, who continued the work with a modern twist. They adapted the Heart of Hope centers to address contemporary issues: climate change impacts on local economies, technology access for remote communities, and mental health programs tailored to youth. The foundation also launched digital platforms, offering online courses, resources, and virtual counseling sessions to reach communities unable to visit in person. As part of their expanded mission, the foundation created an initiative called Legacy Gardens, a network of community gardens and green spaces around the world. Each legacy garden was designed to foster community engagement, allowing residents to grow their own food, share resources, and learn about sustainable agriculture. Volunteers, teachers, and students worked side by side, building bonds as they nurtured plants from seed to harvest. Every legacy garden included a small monument to Emily and John, engraved with one of their favorite quotes: "We grow best when we grow together." The Heart of Hope Foundation also started a legacy scholarship program in honor of Emily's original dream to help youth from disadvantaged backgrounds pursue higher education. Hundreds of students were awarded these scholarships each year, with opportunities for mentorship and internships within the foundation itself. Some of the scholarship recipients later became doctors, engineers, teachers, and community leaders, all inspired to give back. In time, many of them returned to the foundation as mentors, completing a beautiful cycle of giving. In addition to the scholarship program, the foundation launched a Heart of Hope Fellowship that supported young social entrepreneurs aiming to solve pressing issues in their communities. Fellows received funding, mentorship, and resources to bring their ideas to life, working on initiatives like affordable housing, environmental conservation, and youth mental health support. The fellowship grew into a global network, with fellows collaborating across borders, inspired by the values that Emily and John had instilled. The Legacy of Love Conference, which Leo and Ava had started, continued to flourish, becoming one of the world's largest gatherings focused on social change and innovation. The conference featured speakers and workshops on topics ranging from poverty alleviation and mental health to community building and sustainable development. Each year, new generations of activists, social workers, entrepreneurs, and volunteers gathered to honor Emily and John's spirit and learn from one another. Their story became a foundational case study in universities, inspiring students around the world. When the 100th anniversary of the foundation approached, the Heart of Hope Board decided to host a global celebration. People from all over the world were invited to share their own stories of transformation and community impact, inspired by Emily and John's legacy. Families who had been touched by Heart of Hope centers, scholarship recipients, fellows, and volunteers gathered to honor the couple who had sparked it all. The celebration featured music, art, storytelling, and a powerful documentary that revisited Emily and John's life, weaving in the experiences of people who had been impacted by their love. For the centennial, the Heart of Hope Foundation also commissioned a grand statue in their hometown park, beside the modest one that had been erected years ago. The new statue depicted Emily and John seated together, surrounded by children and families, with hands extended as if welcoming everyone into their circle. The statue base included bronze plaques from each country where Heart of Hope centers operated, engraved with the words, "In loving memory of Emily and John, love's greatest legacy." The final tribute came when a small asteroid, newly discovered by an astronomer who had been a Heart of Hope scholarship recipient, was named Emily John, in recognition of the enduring impact they had left on Earth. It was a fitting tribute to two people whose lives had shone brightly and whose love continued to cast light, even among the stars. In the end, Emily and John's story became a symbol of hope across generations and cultures, reminding everyone who heard it that love is not limited by wealth, distance, or time. It lives on in every life touched by kindness, every hand extended in friendship, and every heart inspired to help others. Their love story had transcended its humble beginnings, transforming into a movement that would continue, like an ever-growing tree, touching countless lives and reminding the world that, indeed, love is the greatest legacy.